Somebody in your life is manipulating you right now, and you don't even realize it. Somebody in your life is manipulating you right now. And the most dangerous part is that it doesn't feel like manipulation, it feels like connection, it feels like trust, it feels like something you chose, and that's exactly how it works, because real manipulation is not loud, it doesn't announce itself, it doesn't look like control, it hides behind kindness, attention, and perfectly timed words that make you feel understood while slowly shaping the way you think, the way you react, and eventually, the way you see yourself. At first, nothing feels wrong, in fact it feels unusually right, because this person listens to you more than others, they mirror your opinions, they agree with your thoughts, they validate your emotions, and your brain interprets this as safety, as familiarity, as someone who finally gets you, but what's actually happening is something much deeper, something psychological. They are studying you, learning your patterns, your insecurities, your triggers, and once they understand those weak points, they don't attack them directly, they influence them subtly, in ways that are almost invisible. You start noticing small shifts, but you ignore them, because they don't feel like changes imposed by someone else, they feel like your own decisions. Maybe you stop talking to certain people because it just feels right, maybe you doubt yourself more often, maybe you feel the need to explain your actions, justify your choices, or seek approval in situations where you never did before, and all of this happens gradually, so slowly that your brain cannot detect the pattern, because manipulation is never about forcing you, it's about guiding you without you realizing you're being guided. The reason this works so well is because your brain is wired for trust. Humans are not designed to constantly question the intentions of others, that would be exhausting, so instead, your mind takes shortcuts, it assumes that consistency means honesty, that attention means care, and that familiarity means safety, and manipulators use this against you. They create a controlled environment where everything feels predictable, where their reactions are calculated, where their behavior is designed to build a false sense of emotional security, and once you're inside that environment, once you start relying on it, that's when the real control begins. You might notice moments where something feels off, a sentence that doesn't sit right, a reaction that feels slightly exaggerated, a situation where you feel confused but can't explain why, and instead of questioning it, you question yourself, you tell yourself you're overthinking, you're being too sensitive, you're misinterpreting things, and that is the exact moment where manipulation becomes effective. Because the control shifts from them to you, you start policing your own thoughts, doubting your own instincts, silencing your own intuition. One of the most powerful techniques manipulators use is something called emotional dependency. They create a dynamic where your emotional state becomes tied to their behavior. When they are kind, you feel calm; when they withdraw, you feel anxious; when they approve, you feel validated, and without realizing it, your internal stability starts depending on external signals that they control, and this creates a loop, a psychological trap where you keep trying to regain that initial feeling of connection, that first version of them that made you feel seen, not realizing that version was never real, it was a setup. Over time, you become more adaptable, but not in a healthy way. You adjust your behavior to avoid conflict, you filter your words to maintain harmony, you suppress your reactions to keep things stable, and slowly, piece by piece, you lose your natural responses, your authenticity starts fading, and you become a version of yourself that is easier to manage, easier to predict, easier to control. And the most dangerous part is that from the outside, nothing looks wrong, there is no obvious abuse, no clear conflict, just a quiet shift in who you are. But here is the truth that changes everything: manipulation only works when you stop trusting your internal signals, when you ignore that subtle discomfort, that quiet voice telling you something isn't right, because your intuition doesn't scream, it whispers, and if you constantly silence it, you lose the only system designed to protect you from this kind of psychological influence. The moment you start paying attention again, the moment you stop dismissing your own thoughts, the moment you question not just them but your reactions around them, the entire dynamic begins to break, because manipulation cannot survive awareness, it needs confusion, it needs self-doubt, it needs you to stay disconnected from your own perception, and once you reconnect with it, once you trust your interpretation of reality again, the illusion starts collapsing. So if something in your life feels slightly off, If you feel like you're slowly becoming someone you don't fully recognize, if your peace depends too much on someone else's behavior, don't ignore it, because the most dangerous manipulation is not the one that controls you directly, it's the one that convinces you that you're in control while quietly rewriting who you are.